thank you for letting us come in and interview you. This is going to be the interviews part of the Buena Vista County Historical Society and Buena Vista University. We're going to use your interview. We're going to put together. We're going to compile all of these interviews for that.
Try not talking with your hand.
That's hard for me to do. We're all teachers here, so I talk with my hands.
Yeah.
How about I scoot over a little bit, or I'll
You don't want that out of there?
Well, you know, I think I'll sit this way. So
Well, you're not that far off. You just when you start flaring your hand, you're
okay. He's really the boss of this operation.
Yeah.
But this is going to be part. We're going to put all of these together and have a nice little, hopefully, some sort of a book for the County Historical Society of veterans and interviews. And you're going to be the first one we do today. It'll be great. And we are also going to use these interviews for our students at the university to use in their study of history and the history of World War II. So you're going to become a historical artifact.
Oh, and I got to try to live through all that?
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. What we have is a camera is right here. Now, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong. That I'll be asking you questions, or Jared may ask you a question or two, and you can just answer looking at me, and no need to look at the camera. But we'll be filming you all the time. Anytime we have a question you don't want to answer, you just feel free not to answer it. And if you want us to shut the camera off at any time, you just let us know, and we'll do that. But we're just going to ask some pretty general questions. But before I get to that, I'd like to know when you were born and your age right now. Actually, I know your age, but if you tell me what age.
October 27th, 1919.
October 27th.
Yep, 1919.
And you're 91.
That's correct.
That is correct. Well, we'll just go ahead and get started, and I'll just state for the record officially right now, and I'll try to keep my hands in check. I probably need to sit on my hand. Again, I teach, I use my hands. So today is December 7th, 2010, and we're interviewing Marvin Otto, who at his home, Mr. Otto is 91 years old, and he was born October 27th, 1919. My name is Bill Feis, and I will be the interviewer along with Jared Gledhill, and Jerry Johnson is running the camera. And we will start with the questions, if that's all right by you.
Well, I suppose it'll have to be.
Yeah, we got you here now. You don't have a choice. We'll start with just a little bit before the war itself. What were you doing before you entered the service?
Farm labor.
Farm labor?
Oh. And when I left there, the people needed a assistant, but I had a low draft number, and I talked to a couple World War I men before, and they suggested that I volunteer for supply or anything like that to their trucks driving for supply. Keep out of that foxhole and so on. And it worked. It worked out. You know, when I went to Sioux City for it, they didn't have no openings. That was right not long after Pearl Harbor.
So you volunteered?
Yeah.
Before? Okay.
Then in March, then I got orders to report to, I don't remember that, whether it was Sioux City or right direct to Des Moines. That I don't remember. Because I've traveled so many miles. Well, when I started service then, forget all that, because I've traveled the U.S. all corners and everything, and the pond and so on and so forth.
Well, where were you when you heard about Pearl Harbor? Where would you remember the day and where you were and what you were doing?
No. But I know I was working out about 5 miles south of town here.
So you heard about it just as you were working? Did you remember how you felt at all when you heard?
Not that would say, "Boy, I don't know. I got a loan draft number, eight something was 868 or in that neighborhood anyhow." So the older World War I men and so on suggested at first it could be a little touchy for you, and because the folks couldn't. Younger brother came out, got a school, not just eighth grade as far as we ever went. Never went to high school or college or anything else. Here I am today.
What branch of the service did you go into when you volunteered?
Well, just as I am today, as a private.
Okay. In the Army, U.S. Army? You went?
Air Force.
Air Force.
Air Force.
Okay. How did you feel going to the war? You volunteered. How did you feel about going, knowing you were going to war?
Oh, I don't know, just natural, I guess, or something about it. I don't know why. I mean, it just like I had to, or I could. I can't answer that one in the right way. I mean,
no,
I understand that one.
Yes, it does.
no, went to Des Moines, and then a couple of days down there, and pretty soon I was called a bunch to be shipped out again. And finally we asked the porter on the train where we was heading for. "Oh, Jefferson Barracks, Missouri." "Well, where's that?" "We didn't know." "And what's it connected with?" "What's the Air Force?" he said. Well, I thought to myself, my God, this can't be. From there down to Tallahassee, Florida. And tents, sleeping in tents all in March. And yes, I started the hard way. 6 of us in a permanent tent.
Where did you do your training? Where did was that in Florida or was that?
Florida, most of it was in Florida there. From then I went to Waycross, Georgia, and Augusta, Georgia. And we was high enough up here, troop trains was going by in front of us coming from Camp Jordan. And we were alerted to go, but, didn't know when or anything. So they sent a bunch of us home to be home for Easter. But Dad meeting us in Storm Lake with a telegram the night before, report back immediately. We were going to be home for Easter.
Now, did you get to go? Were you by yourself, or was there a group of people from like Storm Lake all to?
No, I was alone from here.
From here.
I was alone from here. And the fellow from Peterson and I came home together for, he said, according to that, I suppose, I'll be riding the same train. We rode the train from back into Chicago. We rode out, got off in the morning because it laid over in Sioux City. And there was a second lieutenant got on somewhere right along the line, right shortly after he got started. And he said, "You boys are a little out of line, aren't you?" "Well, you probably would be too." "Why?" he said. "Why? We rode this train this morning, and we're supposed to be home for Easter tomorrow, today, and we're on the road back to Chicago. Pretty missed this train last night." "I think they had to put me on," he said. And all summer long, in tents down there. When it rained, the water came through the tent like that, so whatever you had on the floor had to get up on the bunk. I'm telling you.
Okay.
But I'm still here. Pardon?
What kind of training did they have you doing down in Florida then?
Well, kind of went through everything, and I wound up in the ordnance section. That's what I went in it. Overseas in the ordnance section. And then they split our outfit right in half. And we were supposed to have landed in London, and we wound up in Scotland. And we was on a British
British base.
A boat going over. No escort or nothing. There was a 21,000 of us on that boat. I had a bunk, 24 hours, and 24 hours I didn't. You stood guard duty for 24 hours. Well, that was my life starting. And moved us twice overseas because they had us set up airfield, and the other bunch stayed right where we landed. And we had to set up 2 airfields before we got our group. And I stayed there until, well, I'm lucky to be here today because there was a couple of us had to dig up 16 live bombs in the 3rd month we was over there.
Can you tell us more about that? I knew that you had that was part of your job. What was your exact job, and can you tell us a bit about those experiences?
I had to keep track of the amount of bombs and ammunition and the vehicles, all that kind of stuff, and help load bombs out.
You were putting bombs on the airplanes.
Yeah. And there was more than once that we laid in the creek along there 2 and 3 deep. Because what they call it, today when you don't hear much of it anymore, but we call them buzz bombs.
Yeah.
It might shut off a mile or too far the back, then come down, or it might shut off and go on by you. You never know. And then next time it shuts off and came right there, so you didn't know, see? Oh, yeah, I was there on that same airfield for December 44. In March of 44 is when I took that bomb out of the 500-pound bomb out of the plane that would hit over Berlin.
Could you tell us more about that? I knew you had a story that went with this. Could you tell us more about that particular moment?
Well, all I know is it was a B-17s that I was with, and they got hit right direct in the radio room. They lost their radio operator someplace over Berlin, but where, he didn't know. And they came all the way back with only 2 engines. The other 2 got conked out. And circling around, one of them went out yet. Now you only have 1 engine left and had that bomb stuck up in there. And the boys to the back burner froze to death because no heater or anything back there. And I don't know how they got the word to the turret operator. He said, turn the turret down, because if we land on the tail wheel, I'm afraid we'll crush in the middle because the whole works is gone. I got pictures of that plane.
Do you?
Yeah. If you want to see it, well, I guess I can show them to you.
Yeah, we can.
You know where they are?
What?
Those pictures of that airplane?
Yeah, I'll give them half a
Yeah.
bet. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to take a look at them when
Yeah.
maybe after we're done. I'd love to take a look at them. Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to bring them home either. I smuggled them home. Boy, I tell you, I sat on pins and needles there for a while. Well, I had a toilet article kit with handkerchiefs in it, clean handkerchiefs. A lot of them never been used, you know. And I stuck one in one fold and another in another fold. And boy, they took you out of your barracks to a building there, and everything went on the floor. Films that anybody had not developed, or you had to hand them out. Claimed you'd get them when you got back home. I thought, boy, these pictures are against the law. But I got to try it, and it worked. He picked it up, and luckily he didn't get a hold of it so that the fold, the picture would fall out. He got a hold of several of them. Boy, I tell you. And boys at the bank, at the barracks left some of their stuff buried in the bunk. Yeah, they tore your bunk all apart. They come back and it was laid in the heap. Like we're lucky we didn't have the straw ticks then, because if they had an inspection and they didn't like the looks of the bug, got to be a little wrinkled. They got a hold of it, just shook it, boy, straw all over the floor. A great life in old Wicked. Yep. Yeah, I went over there in April of '43 and left there again in just before Christmas of '44. And was no Christmas at home. I spent my Christmas and New Year in Santa Ana, California. Second New Year's Day, I was put on a train to go to Carlsbad, New Mexico, for training for the Southwest. Well, then the war ended that summer, so that's when we got discharged. So I covered a lot of miles in the United States.
Sure did.
And then driving a whole truck for all them years to boot. Why?
So when you served in England at the airfield, you loaded bombs and did all those things during the bombing campaign over Germany and all the bombers that went to him. And did you know about when the D-Day landings were going to be? Or you were there when that?
I was right there when that day of landing. Officers and all was out loading bombs because we couldn't keep up with them. It was coming. A lot of guys couldn't believe that either, but I got proof for that. And I had a buddy from Kansas, and the last time I saw him was on the train down in Missouri. See, he was from Topeka. Lo and behold, the second day I was down to Carlsbad. Who do I run to? But him and his wife. But you see, the married guys were sent to Santa Monica to California, and the single guys, which I was one of them, Santa Ana. And he got down there a couple days before I did. And we were together there until the war ended, and he had nerve enough. The guy out in the bombardation area, it was nothing but little 100-pound bombs filled with with sand and gravel. But I was supposed to sit in the shack with him, right by the gate, to be out with the boys. And I said, that ain't my way of living. And I had tech rating at that time. He said, I worked hard for him. He didn't like him. Well, if you like him, you bust it. I said, I don't give a darn. I just, somehow or another, that's the way I felt. And I didn't stay. And they wouldn't get up in the morning, they wouldn't eat, fall out or anything, because he stayed in town. And he wouldn't fall out. I stayed in the barracks, and you going for breakfast in the morning? Yep, get me up. And lo and behold, it was cleaning the barracks. Boy, you asked the boys once, and they was all there. One Sunday, he says, tomorrow we got a load of practice bomb of fuses coming in. Right? You be sure and get plenty of help. Oh, I said, don't worry about it. I said, I'll get it done. We had 2 loads of men, we still had to leave some behind. He asked about it the next morning. Yeah, I said, all you can do is work with the boys. I said, you get some cooperation. He went in, to finish that story of going in to have me busted. My buddy was sitting on the captain's desk. And, well, the captain said, the way it sounds, we're going to have him busted. My buddy says, turn around, get general order number so-and-so, and read paragraph number so-and-so, and see what that says. He stayed sitting right on the captain's desk and told the captain to turn. Now this, I'll tell you, I had tech rating like I did. That's a lot of nerve, you know? And come then to get the darn paper signed to get released. I won't sign it. Give it here, I'll sign it. And he said, told the boss right then and there. And I'm leaving in a couple of weeks too. I ain't going to sign the paper. I don't care. I'll sign it myself, he said. That's how we got out. So I can say I really covered a lot of miles in this U.S.
Yes, you did.
From here south of Florida over the East Coast all the way across the West Coast.
Well, you almost got to go to the Pacific too.
Well, that's what they sent us home for.
When did you, or how did you feel when you found out that you would be maybe heading to the Pacific too? How did that, when you heard the news, what was your reaction?
I don't know. You just gotta go. I guess, I don't know.
What was the reaction then when you heard that the war was over, that it had ended?
I know we'd be going home sometime pretty soon, but it didn't quite as soon as we had expected. You see, this was in the summer when it ended, and I got released October 1st already. So you see that there wasn't much time in between there. But this master sergeant out there got orders to go overseas. Oh God, was he sick! And then of course we laid it on to boot yet. And he claimed of all this and that. You didn't do nothing. Plainly told him you didn't do nothing. I think that's what made him mad to you. You're going to have me busted, but I said I don't care. I'm going home pretty soon anyhow. So, and then the fellow from Akron, I bet I worked at DeKalb for 10 years or better and stopped at Akron for dinner. Got pumping in gas over there, and that's when they had the old pumps yet, when they had to fill them up. Filling this lady's car, she was standing there, and I hollered at him, it was all right to park over there, and yep. He took another look, he shut the pump off, and he came over. Hi, Otto! Yeah, you remember my last name? And we slept side by side here in the States. We got overseas, or then we got broken too. Never saw one another again, in all them years. I don't know.
You had a lot of experiences.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, of all the things you did during the war, what are you most proud of that in your service? What are you most proud of, or what do you think of that makes you the proudest?
Well, I'm supposed to be alive. Like digging up the 16 bombs already, the third month it was over there. And then taking that 500-pound bomb out. The plane looks like hell. Plain words.
So you had to go in and defuse the bomb so that it wouldn't, so when you were dealing with it, it could have exploded.
Yeah, I don't remember what was doing out around, and Captain came out, he said, "Hey, Otto, come here, we got work to do." I said, "What we got, I'll tell you on the way." And he wouldn't tell me. So, okay. He was out in our neighborhood when we dug up the 16 that time, and here he was now taking this bomb out of that plane. So he didn't back away from anything. I mean, but why should he pick on me with half a dozen other guys right there? "Hey, Otto, we got a job to do," he said. I thought, and he wouldn't tell me anything until we got there. There's the plane, there's the streaks and everything else. It landed on the runway with one engine, one flat tire, one bay door gone. Right? Well, the picture will tell you this big story.
Yeah. Wow.
And I wasn't supposed to have them then either, but I got them. Thank goodness.
Well, when you came home after the war, what did you do?
Oh, that fall I helped pick corn by hand at home. And the next year I went to work for farm labor again. Until I got married then in 47, then that's when I started farming and put in 10 years of that. And that didn't agree, so I had to try something else. And the boss asked me, he said, "Do you know anything about truck driving?" Well, I said, my brother and I moved all of our belongings from here up there. I guess you know a little bit about being on the truck, on the road. Bang, here I was, put on the truck, and 27 years out. So 11 miles. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to ask us or to say, or is there something we didn't ask you that?
Oh, I don't mind. I think I rattled about long enough.
Tremendously interesting. Because if you had anything else to say, we're here to listen.
Well, I know they had it right up in the paper back here about me taking them after I'm 16. I don't know what I'm doing anyway. Well, it's just part of my job. What else can you do? Because they investigated all your letters and everything, so they had to be careful what you said or anything else. So they didn't like
Not
them.
to get on there, so.
Huh?
I tried not to get on the thing.
Oh, you can have them. Well, we're just discussing and just show them the pictures now.
Oh my!
The right up the bottom is on the bottom of each one of them.
You weren't kidding. That plane is
It had it.
wow.
and landed with one engine and the shape it's in. And
Now, you have
That one just really
that
says a
that
lot.
hole is big enough for three of us to hang our head out. And
Is that right?
easy, real easy.
Wow. That is. That's amazing. That's amazing. That plane made it back at all.
Well, that's the truth. And it's amazing that they ever got it landed with only one engine and one good tire.
Yeah.
The others was all flat. And
Did you see the pilot afterwards? Was he?
I don't know.
I just
I don't
wondered if
remember.
he was. After that, I'm not sure I'd want to get back in a plane again. I'm sure he did, though.
I know he said one morning, I hate like hell to make this trip. He said, I'd give anything for the plane would, something would go wrong, we'd have to come back. He said, we got to bomb my grandparents' hometown today. He said, that'd be pretty hard to do, wouldn't it?
Is that right?
Yeah, it's the wording I got.
That's very interesting. So he actually went up in a plane and knew he was going to be bombing the hometown of his grandparents. Who were
Yeah,
in Germany.
he told this, and then after they'd made that trip, and then one morning he said, or that morning, it was before the bombing to take place. He said, I'd do anything to have this, something go wrong, I had to come back. He said, yeah. And when he came back, that's the shape he brought. He come back in to boot the end.
I see this one picture of you getting an award. Is that for diffusing the bomb in the plane, or is that? Do you remember what this one's from?
Yeah, that's for taking the bomb out and everything. Now that's the colonel of the Air Force on our airfield there.
Okay.
Yep.
What did they award you with for doing that? What?
I got the soldier medal for that job there. That big write-up was in the paper too.
Okay.
And then they write back and want to know what's going on. Well, it's part of my job. But you couldn't write anything else. I was lucky to get them home. That's all I can say is. So somebody was along with me. Grab in there and get a hold of a couple different bunches of handkerchiefs that they was folded in. That darn picture didn't fall out of one of them at least.
It was meant to be that you were to bring them home.
I guess so. Yeah.
Well, we're sure glad that you got them home because those tell a story. I'll say.
Well, I said, I think the day of my funeral, it ought to be laid out. Because I got a cousin that had, his funeral was a couple of years ago, showed pictures of him picking corn, by hand. I thought, this should be as important as that hand corn picking, wouldn't it?
I'd say so.
So I'm going to put a tape them on a cardboard to save them, because being handled, they're liable to get ripped open or tore up or something.
They're in very good shape.
All these years, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
they're in very good shape.
Be moved every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us come ask you some questions and being able to tell your story. It's you know, it's been really nice to be able to hear it.
That's,
I agree.
that's the only way I could tell you is just what actually happened. But like I say, I really hit the whole country from here right on down to Florida, and then back up the East Coast, overseas, then clear across to California, down to and back up.
Too bad they didn't have frequent rider miles back then.
Well, you did a remarkable job. I'm so pleased to that you shared that with us, and that you shared it for our students and for people in the county who can watch the interview and hear you tell that remarkable story all over again. So we thank you for that, and I think for the university, thank you especially for our students now and in the future who will benefit from what you've just told us. We really appreciate that.
I just told you the way it happened, that's all.
Well, and for you and your wife letting us come into your home, we kind of invaded.
Well,
But we appreciate it.
had I known that this was going to be done in Stone Lake, would have given me a little time to find somebody. I mean, when you can't drive,
We were happy to come to your home.
Well,
We were happy to come to your home. If that was more convenient for you, that was our pleasure.
well, it's
It's our pleasure to be here. It really is.
satisfying as far as I'm concerned to have it happened here.